Hello everyone, this is the Paper Princess and we're going to get started making the base album for our Tango album. You can always use this base and tutorial to make other albums as well. I like this size. So our album is going to be 8.5 by 10. So you need to cut 2 pieces of chipboard that's 8.5 by 10. And the spine is 3 inches, so that's a 3 by 10. I used an 8.5 by 11 pack of chipboard. It's 90 point, and that'll last me a while. If you already have 12 by 12s from other projects you've used, you need to do this test before you cut. So the 12 by 12, if you bend it one way, it's real wobbly. You turn it and it's stiffer. You want the stiff side facing up. So your stiff side will be with your 10 inches here and your 8.5 going across the top. So you'll need to cut that. But make sure you do that test before you make a cut. So we're gonna get started here, and I'm gonna set my chipboard aside and grab 2 pieces of your black cardstock. Mine is American Crafts, it's 80 pounds. I have a score runner. You can also use a scoreboard, but you want to take one side and score 1/2 inch. Oops, with the flat side facing up. Hold that down. Okay, I'm going to use, most commonly I use 3/8 inch tape, and I also use 1/4 inch tape. So I'll take this over. On the textured side, I'm going to run a strip of the score tape right near the bottom. I do not want to cover this score line. And I have a little tear tool that I made. It's just a piece of plastic, and I put a foam pop dot there. So I could just tear the paper. You can also cut it. And I'm going to take my bone folder and press that down. Okay. So now we're going to put these 2 pieces of paper together. And I'm watching here to just come right underneath our score line. Make sure it's flush at the top. Okay, let's press that down. All right, so I'm going to first just lay these pieces down and see how much room I have. Okay, I'm gonna do like this. So, also I use this ruler if you have, we'll be sometimes needing these smaller sizes, but this goes by the 16th. And that's a good thing to have. If you don't have it, I'll tell you where you can find these measurements on your score cutter, because there's a couple of times that you'll need to do that. All right, so let's see. Looks like we have 1.5 inches. So I'm going to take a pencil and make 3 lines going up, 1.5. Make a tick mark there, 1 in the middle, and 1 up top. Yeah. Actually, let me see. This ruler looks like it's about 1.5. So if you have this ruler, you can just take that, line it up with the edge here and draw a line. That was just convenient. Okay. For the top and bottom, looks like I have an inch. So I'm going to make some lines at about an inch, going across. Okay, so let's put that there, line these up. Okay, and I don't need to do the other side. So let's put that down. Now, before we lay anything down, let me set this aside. We are gonna cover our chipboard with score tape. We really gotta glue this down and make sure it stays down. So, for this, I purchased this 2-inch score tape. They have 3-inch, 2.5, something big. Otherwise, it's just going to take an awful lot of this 3/8 to go across. So let's get started doing that. And we're going to cover the whole thing. Actually, this doesn't tear so well, so I may just need to cut it. We'll see. I'll try this again. Yeah, I think I'm gonna cut it. The tear tool works much better with the smaller tape. Okay, so when you get here, there's a space left. Don't ignore it. We'll just take some of our small piece and we'll run it across the bottom. We want everything covered. Okay, and right here where I have overhanging, I'm just gonna snip that off. Yeah. Okay, and I'll cover that up when I peel this off, but we're gonna burnish this down, really press it down. It helps it stay down, gets out any air bubbles. Okay, now we do the same thing to our second piece. Someone once told me how to hold this, and it gives you a lot of control over it. I love it. You pick up little suggestions along the way, the more videos you watch. and then we will cover this little space. See if anything is hanging off the edge here. Just a little bit. Okay, and let's press this down. Okay, and now for our spine. Okay. Let's see. I have this. I believe it's a half. There's not a lot left, but let's see. Just ran out right at the end, so I will put some of this down. Okay, and let's press this down. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do also is take a piece of this Tyvek plasticky material. I just went to the post office and grabbed a piece. So let me cut that. I just want to put this behind our spine, just so when you bend the book and you open it and close it, and it doesn't crack the paper over time. But there's other things. I'm also going to be putting some book binding tape there. So I will show you that. And that you can just pick up. I got it on Amazon. And it looks like that. It's like this cloth material, book binding tape. So we have our Tyvek material. Let me just bring back our paper here that we're going to cover, and I just want to see, I need to just trim a little bit off of there. Yeah, that's about right. So I'm going to cover this with tape also. This isn't as important to get every last bit of space. We mainly want the center where the spine is, and then like an inch on each side. So whatever this comes out to be, I'll use 3 strips. Just gonna cut this little piece off because I don't really need it. This will be plenty. No sense in putting more tape there. And we'll press this down. I'm using a Teflon bone folder. It's very smooth, comfortable, and it's got a nice flat end. So the other kinds that are flat, you kind of have to go like this. I just found this easier. Got that online too. So this we're gonna put down in the middle. I have a little tool I got at Creative Memories, and it helps me lift up the tape. Some people also use, like, there's a piercing tool. There's also some Cricut tools that have like a sharp end, and you can use those to lift off your tape. This just holds it down. Oops. There we go. Real sticky. So once this goes on, it's on. So go like that, put it towards the middle here, and lay that down. Okay. Now what you're gonna need when you're laying this down, I basically took 2 pieces of the chipboard that I used. So just take your leftover 1-inch scraps, tape them together, and that's just the rule of thumb, that when you put this down, you want 2 of taped together, and that would be your spacer right here. So when you lift off, you have this much space so you can bend your book. So let's put it down here, make sure it's the way I like it. And there's enough room on each side. Little less room on this side, but that's still enough. If you want, you can scoot it over just a little bit, as long as it's even. Okay, so we're going to start. Peel off the backing. Garbage can's getting full here. Here we go. So I'm gonna lay this down and line it up with the intersection here, that score line and the line at the bottom. And everything's lined up. And we'll press this down. Okay. Let's take off this backing. Oh, I really got it stuck on there good. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my spacer, my jig here, press it flush against this chipboard, and before I put it down, I'm gonna kind of hold it at an angle so I can have some leeway to move it up and down. But basically I'm looking, pressing it tight against this jig, and I want it lined up here and at the top, and it is, so I'm just going to lay it down. And we will take our second piece, our back side of this album. There we go. Piece of tape lifted up a little so I can press it down. There we go. And I'll take my spacer, press it there again. I'm holding this at an angle. Make sure I get it right. Lined up at the top and bottom. I've got my pencil line at the bottom here. I'm just gonna let it drop. There we go. Isn't this nice? We're coming along. So now I just wanna bend it and just get the paper used to being bent because we're gonna have to fold these over. So just give this a little, there we go. And now we're going to put tape all around and we'll rebend it then too after. So I'm going to take my 3/8 inch and run it all across the bottom and the sides. One more side. Okay. Now let's press that down. Okay, next we're going to put tape across the bottom part of all the chipboard, all the way around. I'm going to tear at the end of each piece. And you guessed it, we are going to press all this down too. Okay, now before we fold everything over, we have to miter our corners. I will show you this tool that I got, and I'll show you a way, if you don't have it, you can still use a ruler and do it that way. But this is from colorways.com, and it's just a mitering tool where there's like an 1/8 of an inch space right there. So you just simply put it in the corner and draw a line. If you don't have this, you could take a ruler and put it at an angle and make sure there's about an 1/8 of an inch right here. Okay, you can do it that way too. So it's called a corner miter tool. So we take our scissors and cut all the corners. And there's a way to make sure your corners don't, stick out. It's kind of like wrapping a present. So I will go over that as we get to it, which is going to be in just a couple minutes. And I like to put the tape here so that when you cut your corner, every piece is covered. So going forward, you may not have to go all the way to the end, but you want to go past this point so that when you cut it, every little bit is covered with tape. Okay, so let's get started with our first side, and we'll go at the bottom. So take this big strip off and the strips on your chipboard. Okay, and we're going to start in the middle. So we'll take this, just press it up into the middle and just roll it like this. You start at the bottom and just roll your hand in. Okay, and then as we press this down, it'll flatten out and make a nice crisp edge here. And that's not going anywhere. And as I went across, I can see there's a nice edge, nice and straight. Okay, I'm gonna take the side of my bone folder and just very lightly, I don't want to cut the paper, I just want to press in here because this is going to be bending a fair amount. So let's do the top, give it another bend, and we'll do the top. Again, we'll start in the middle. Just press that up. Okay, so press this down. Get out any little bubbles that might be there. Okay. All right. Now for the sides. So for the sides, we're going to take off our tape, but we have to do one little thing before we roll this over, and that is making sure our corners are tucked in. So I'm going to take my bone folder, go up to this corner right here, and kind of press it in. Kind of like you're wrapping a present and you're tucking in these sides. And do that over here also. So you can see, just take this side here and tuck it in. Okay. So let me lift this up. If you can see here, it's like tucked in. And that way when I fold it over, I have a nice corner here and no pieces sticking out. if somehow this gets messed up, no need to make the whole book all over again. They do sell metal corners, and some people just do that anyway because it looks nice, but you put it on here at the end of your project. Tim Holtz makes those. I've seen them around. Okay, let's do our other side. I'll take off the tape. And I'm gonna press in my corners. And I am wrapping a present. This book is going to be a present. To myself. And I can store all memories in here. It'll be great. So let's see, and I got that tucked in. I'm gonna start in the middle, fold that over. Press it down. Okay, now there's one more thing, and this is optional, but I've just always done it. I have this bookbinding tape that you can also get online. It has different widths. This is 1.5 inches. So I'm gonna put it down the sides here where I'm going to constantly be bending. See, we do have our tie back, but this just gives a little extra support. So if you decide to do this, you can follow along. And I'm gonna start here and go up just a little bit because I know this is going to be covered up with paper. If I started at the bottom, you'd see the top of the tape. So I'm going to start there, flip over my book, roll this tape out. Okay, fold it back over. And press it down. Nice. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. Now this right here is going to be covered up with paper, and you'll just see a little bit of the edge of this cloth tape, but you know, you're also going to have paper on here, so you just see a little bit, and it actually looks nice. Real professional. Okay. And let's bend this a little. Perfect. Love it. Okay, so our next step, it does that for a little bit. You can hear the tape. Our next step is putting in the hinge, and I don't have a license to teach that, but I will show you quick what measurement you'll need. You can go to paperphenomenon.com. That is the lady who invented this system. It's used in every book I've ever made. Lots of people use it. It's the hidden hinge system. And on her website, she has tutorials, and you can learn how to make that. She also sells paper, which is absolutely gorgeous. So that's what we will need to do. But when you're deciding how long to make your paper, you're just going to take an 80-pound piece of black cardstock. You want your height to be where you leave about a 1/2 inch on the top and bottom. So since this book is a 10, you'll need to cut out a piece of paper that's 9 and by let's see, I am going to, it's going to be, in this size book, like an 8.5 would give me enough room, because you want a little bit hanging over the edge. So cut a piece of 9 by 8.5, and you can go learn how to make that hinge, and then come back and we will continue on making our pocket pages, and we'll get started making the pages. So see you soon.